In January 2019, the Nigerian government confirmed that it had approved the introduction of its first genetically modified food crop in the country. The food crop whose gene is being modified is the cowpea, popularly called beans, Nigeria's most famous protein-based food. These genetically modified or GM beans are said to be pest resistant, especially to the infamous pod borers pest. According to the Nigeria Institute for Agricultural Research, this pest is responsible for up to 90% yield loss of beans in the country. It is on the promise of a pest-resistant beans that the Nigerian government has allowed the mass release of these GM beans into the food system in Nigeria, meaning that GM beans will soon be commercially available for consumption as they will be sold throughout food markets in the country. The Nigerian government has assured the safety of GM beans consumption. However, there are lots of controversies surrounding genetically modified food crops all over the world. Several activist organizations like the Greenpeace have continued to speak up against the technology of genetically modifying the organisms of food crops, citing numerous potential health and environmental concerns. The American Academy of Environmental Medicine has urged doctors to prescribe non-GMO diets for all patients. They claim that there are animal studies that have shown organ damage, gastrointestinal and immune system disorders, accelerated aging, and infertility connected to certain GM food. Also, the American Public Health Association and American Nurses Association condemned the use of milk produced by cows whose genes have been modified to increase milk production. This group of nurses believe the consumption of such milk could be linked to cancer. Already, over 13,400 people have sued the manufacturers of Roundup, a herbicide used solely on GM crops, saying that the herbicide's active ingredient, glyphosate, is unsafe. A couple in the United States was able to prove to a court that the Roundup herbicide used on their farm was responsible for the cancer they suffered. The jury ruled that the manufacturers of Roundup compensate the couple to the tune of $2 billion in damages. Although the WHO has stated that there are yet no records of any harmful effects from consuming GM foods, however, health concerns over the long-term consumption of GM food still persist among skeptics and anti-GMO activists. These concerns have led several countries to strongly regulate GM food for human consumption within its borders. Already, about 19 European Union countries have placed either a partial or full ban on GM foods, while other countries have approved it for only animal consumption. This act is in compliance with the precautionary approach principle of the Cartagena Protocol, which entails that you hold the brakes on implementing a questionable policy that could potentially harm your citizens. Despite these concerns shown by their counterparts from other countries, the Nigerian government has gone ahead to approve the commercial distribution of GM bean seeds to farmers. Soon, our food markets will be flooded with GM beans for human consumption. This will be the first time the government would officially announce the approval of GM food into our market. Recent studies have shown that several food products found on the Nigerian market shelves already contain ingredients from food crops that have been genetically modified. There is a considerable chance that the cereal on your breakfast table right now is made from GM maize. Yet, most Nigerians are unaware of this fact. The Biosafety Law of Nigeria mandates the labeling of food products containing GM-based ingredients, but only when it exceeds 4%. The problem is that no one knows how well this policy is being enforced. Does the agency actually go about testing these products? Are they even well equipped to do so? There are yet no public documents or evidence of research from the agency showing that they have successfully tested and certified that the content of GMO in these food products are genuinely below 4%. The National Biosafety Management Agency of Nigeria claims it has carried out an extensive test which shows that the GM beans being introduced are safe for human consumption. This claim has been challenged by several agricultural experts and civil society organizations as they continue to doubt the capacity of the Biosafety Agency to assess accurately the safety of these GM foods. Where do we, the consumers, stand amid all these arguments on the safety of GM foods? Do we sit back and trust the Biosafety Agency of Nigeria, believing whatever they tell us? Or are we going to be given an opportunity to choose what ends up on our plates? Every Nigerian consumer deserves to know what they are eating. They have the right to choose whether they want to eat GM or organic food, no matter the cost. The only way to ensure that right is for strict labeling laws to be enforced on food products, and this should go beyond the 4% limit set by the existing law. The National Assembly should consider a review of the Biosafety Act to ensure that strict labeling policies are enforced by taking away the 4% limit. Nigeria is signed up to the Cartagena Protocol. Therefore, lawmakers should ensure that tenets of this protocol are strictly adhered to, especially where it states public consultations as a requirement to certify GM foods. But most importantly, Principle 15 of the protocol, commonly known as a precautionary approach, must be enshrined into the biosafety law, where it states that scientific uncertainty should not automatically preclude regulation of activities that pose a potential risk of significant harm, meaning that the sole fact that there is uncertainty as to the potential dangers of a GMO product, regulatory measures need to be implemented immediately to mitigate as much as possible such perceived risks, and labeling is such a measure that could be implemented immediately. Of course, the Nigerian government has assured us that GM beans and other GM products that are coming to the Nigerian market are safe for human consumption, but one cannot just turn a deaf ear to all the concerns people are raising about GM products all around the world. Whether these concerns are factual or baseless, they simply cannot be ignored. Whilst most study is still carried out on the health risks of GM-based food, consumers need to be able to make a choice. And this is why there is a call for a strict labeling policy. This policy action, if taken by the lawmakers, will ensure that we do have a choice between naturally grown beans and GM beans when they eventually hit the food market. If you have watched this video to this point, it shows you are concerned about the safety of Nigerian foods and what we and our children are eating. You can take action by joining the social media conversation on #MyFoodMyChoice and #GMO labeling, or contact your senator or House of Representatives to take action, because at the end of the day, what we are asking for is our right to know what we eat.